So here we are, another episode. Craig LeBlanc, Gabriel Murillo, and Joseph Tucker. Today we're gonna be just sharing the story, success story with Joseph. So thank you, Joseph, for taking the time and sharing your story.
Thank you for having me. It's an absolute pleasure.
Today we're gonna be sharing a little bit of the story that you've been 4 years now.
Yes, we're going on 5 years with Hydra-Guard in the development, research, R&D, and finally bringing the product to market in 2016.
Okay, fantastic. And so we got right here our 5 M's: the money, the market, the management model. So why don't you go ahead and give us a little bit of the background about your business so people can know what you're working on, what gets you excited every day.
Right. Where do you want me to start?
Yeah.
Idea. I started in business finance. I started working I was working at the bank, okay? And I was training for a marathon. I was training here at the LSU Lakes, and I was buying current products that were on the market. However, for my long distance runs, I noticed that I wasn't drinking that water because I was well hydrated the day before, which is encouraged. So during my runs, all I wanted was a splash of water, something to keep me going, keep me from having dry mouth, and just keep me in the middle stages where I needed to be to finish that 20-mile training. And so I had the idea for a hands-free hydration system at this time. Okay, what was that going to be? I didn't know. Okay, I went back to my house, and this was whenever I was training for the marathon. Got back to my house, and I saw a mouth guard sitting there in my room. So I looked at it, and I was like, "Wow, hands-free hydration system. This is hands-free. I use this sometimes. So how can I make this product hydrate me?" Okay. And so I started with one design. I immediately wrote it down. When you have an idea, I always encourage other future and invent if they want to create, or if they needed. The first thing that you should do is you write that idea down. Last thing you want to do is just go through something and forget about it. Correct?
Was it in a particular type of notebook, or anyway? It can be a napkin.
Yes.
Or,
well, there was on a napkin. I think there's probably 100 napkins by now because it continues to change. Okay, and it always happens whenever I'm at the dinner table. But it originally started on a torn piece of paper. People would come over and I'd pull out this. It wasn't even not even a full sheet. And look at this. Look at my design. Look at this. It's really cool, huh? And they're like, yeah, it's really cool. What are you going to do with it? It's a nice picture you have there.
Are you talking about your friends or
yes, friends, family?
And how old are you?
Yeah. At this time, I was 23, 24 years old.
You got a couple weird faces looking at you like, what are you talking about, Joseph?
To say the least, it was, I think I could have been, considered crazy at this time. So, and I probably was, to anybody that goes into these, that you're creating something that doesn't exist. You can't go to Google, you can't go to Google and be like, oh, well, I want it to look like this. No, you're completely starting an entire new trend with a different type of objective. And so I took that design, and then one design led to another. So I started getting feedback. I said, you know what? I like this concept, but do other people like this concept? So my next step was to make sure that there was a market, make sure that people were going to actually want to buy this before I put too much time and effort into this project. And so I sent out surveys. Okay, would this help? Would this, do you think that you could benefit from this as an athlete and a consumer? And I sent out a bunch of surveys, and I got my feedback, and I said, it came back yes. I said, okay, all right. Now that I know that there is a need for this, how do I want to create? Okay. Then I started, my one design led into another, and I started getting feedback and sending out surveys and getting feedback from people on social media. That's the best thing. Social media, you could pay a big company, thousands of dollars for this type of research that you can get on social media and the internet. So I would put things out there and say, what do y'all think of this? And 100 people would comment back. Like, oh, that was free. That's free. It's free athletes. It's free feedback. And I'd send out handwritten surveys. I get that information back. And so my question was, all right, safety. How can I make this the most secured product that there is? Well, I was in banking. I wasn't an engineer. Okay. I knew numbers. I knew how to crunch numbers and do investments and things like that. But I didn't know how to create. So I enrolled back into engineering school over there at LSU, our program. I learned the dynamics of how to engineer a product in geometry, and I continued to do these things until I got my product exactly where I wanted it to. So it was a little long way around things, but it's something that I felt that at that time was necessary to do.
Yeah.
I was willing to do whatever it took.
Now, let me ask you, before you started developing the product and full on with this, do you have any other episode of entrepreneurship? Or that was your first idea that you had before? Because I know a lot of young entrepreneurs were kind of like idea machines. We got a crazy idea. We got the notebook here and there, the napkins. But was that your first? You say before you were working in banking, right?
Correct. Yes. So before I started Hydra-Guard, I had a small marketing company that I did with when social media was just not starting to get big. I saw a plus in that. So another way that I could get into the market.
You got a taste of entrepreneurship through that as well.
But this goes back since I was young. I had as small as it sounds, but whenever I was a kid, I get on my bike and I would tie a piece of rope from my bike to a pushing lawnmower and put my gas tanks and everything else on there and go and knock on doors from the very get-go because I needed to figure out how to get some of the things that I wanted, that were out there in the stores, that, my equipment and things like that for sports. And so I did that as a kid, and I did that continuously all through the neighborhood. There's a point to where I finally got to a point to where I had so many customers that I could afford to buy a riding lawnmower. Nice. And so I upgraded my equipment. I invested back into my company. Okay, and I was maybe 10 years old, at this time. And so it's going back, and I knew that if I knew I had a piece of equipment. I knew I had something going. I was making money, right? 2, I knew I was growing. I reached a point to where I needed better equipment. So I knew at that 10 years old or 11 years old that I needed to invest back in my company to where I could knock out more yards with this better piece of equipment.
Market, which is the other end. You got the money piece, now the market.
Correct. And so I ended up going back and buying a piece of equipment. Well, I outgrew my neighborhood. So then I needed transportation. So I didn't have a license. I had another 5-6 years till I could get my license. So I would have my dad come pick me up on his lunch breaks and drop me off because I put an ad in the paper. I could start affording ads to put in the paper. Then he would drop me off to different parts of town, and I come back and pick me up. Wow. And I go to the next yard, and I continue to grow my business. And I did this all the way up to high school, and so I've always had that. I always had that money management. Was it you
think your parents, or why were you exposed to that at
free thinking? Free thinking. And my parents, they taught me to, if there's something out there, if there's something that you want to accomplish in life, and there's something that you really want to succeed in, you're going to have to work for it. And so those are the things that they taught me at a very early age, which is, we're not going to give things to you. It doesn't matter. What you do is just, if you want to be great in life, if you want to succeed, you need to make it happen. And that goes with your sports. That goes with, your homework when I was growing up. That goes with every single aspect in life of what I was taught to do. So whenever I'm over here in my office, every single hour, I have to pretend like, that somebody else, somewhere else has this type of idea that I'm going up against. So every time I sit down and I come into this office that I'm with Hydra-Guard, I'm literally pretending that I'm 4 people at one time within that hour, making the most of every single hour that I possibly can while I'm here at work. And, there's going to be a smarter person in the room. There might be, somebody that's more skilled, but I guarantee you that nobody will outwork me in the room. I guarantee you. It's part of it, but you get these characteristics and things, and it's really developed as you go through this entrepreneur. You kind of grow this entrepreneurial mindset, right? And so you figure out what works, what doesn't, and you're almost forced to adopt that personality. You're like, man, I really want this. I want this so bad. I want this so badly. And so I always had that mindset growing up, and then. The ideas that I've had, everybody has great ideas.
Yeah.
It's how do you implement them?
Those are the 2 other ends, the management and the model. So the reason I ask you about when you were younger is because, again, you were young, we all have these great ideas, And people think when you hear the traditional, typical story of an entrepreneur out there is the success story.
Correct.
You don't get to hear the other 14, 15, or 20 years that he has 20 different ideas, like the ones that we're telling right here. So we want to showcase your success story, which we're about to, and Craig is going to help us also, get into that. But I wanted to showcase that young guys also get, there is nothing wrong with not knowing exactly what's going to, like, I'm pretty sure 10 years ago, you didn't know that you're going to be here, right?
I was at the bank and I was not an engineer. I did not know how to
create.
Clue. Correct.
You'll never predict this about yourself.
Right.
So it's inspiring to hear that. So you were going to say about the management and making ideas happen. That was you were about to talk about that.
Yeah. So, many people, they have great ideas, correct? And some of them, me, so take an example. I've had many great ideas before I actually started taking the initiative to go in there and figure out and get online and figure out how to create, what goes into creating. And so many people have these ideas, but they don't know quite how to get over that barrier. Oh, I have this idea, but okay, I don't have any money. Next question should be, how do you get that money? Who's around me? What are other sources? I'm passionate about this idea. Let me talk to somebody else that's passionate, that will see my passion. You see?
What was that for you at the beginning, at least with Hydra-Guard? In regards to money, you self-funded a little bit of this?
Bootstrap for a long time.
Totally.
Yeah, bootstrap for a long time.
And the social media business also allow you to get paid for, your work. And
there, it's yes. And the thing is that whenever you're looking around, you figure out, all right, how do I do this? And I don't have cash. And well, how do you find it? Okay. And then so it's these type of different things. And whenever I started doing that, I started studying the processes immediately of all of this, because I needed to know, say, when that time comes, I need to be ready. So, and I did that from the very start. And I studied the processes, figured out exactly what different sectors of growing a successful business and developing and creating a product that I'm going to need to know. I need to know each and every piece of the puzzle. Yeah. And so I studied that, and I started going after cash. About 7 months ago, we closed out our first round, December 31st.
Yep.
Yeah. So
fantastic.
So before that, I bootstrapped everything.
Great. And then if we jump into the model now, of course, in this particular business that we're talking about, that's your business model. So this is, have different routes. So why don't we go ahead and tell the audience more about this particular business, the product? You already told us about the idea, but what is it today now, the product?
What is our product?
Yeah.
Our product is the world's first refillable hydrating mouth guard. It's made to hydrate athletes, replenish electrolytes and carbohydrates to athletes while they remain in competition. See, before now, athletes were always restrained to the sidelines of being hydrated, correct? We encourage our athletes to be hydrated before, during, before, the day before, before the activity, maintain during, and then, of course, after. So, as what Hydra-Guard does is that we help during. We help push those electrolytes and carbohydrates where it's never been before. And that's while we're in competition. That's exactly what Hydra-Guard goes. Football, it goes baseball. We have customers in baseball, soccer, basketball,
nice,
football. That's nationwide.
Fantastic. And the business model, of course, will be a lot of retail, online distribution. And can you tell us more about the business model that you have in mind so far?
Yes. So right now we're online. Okay, we did a soft launch 2015, kind of sending our product out there, doing the R&D, and then in 2016 we're on a website, www.hydratingmouthguard.com, where our consumers can check it out and also place their purchases. Retails. We plan on going into local retailers and then also talking with national retailers as well. In 2016, started to talk with them, be present in front of them. But in 2017, of course, is whenever we're looking to try to make our purchases with them or have their purchases with us and sending out there to where these consumers can go in, on a mom and pop place just right on the corner, or they can go into the academy and, and buy our product. And so we have a lot of neat things with several universities that are also our entry into the market as well.
And since we're talking about growth in the show, it's the exponential growth. The more that you have, once you are in 5, 10 store, the easier that it's for you to get into the next 10, right? So will you describe how critical it is for you to sell even the first one, or for young guys out there that are listening, because this show is primarily for young entrepreneurs? How critical is the sales process, and when you go talk to potential distributors? That's pretty much a whole job for you. Even though you're doing the operations, even though you went and crank the engineering piece of it, now you have to sell.
Correct. I think this, the selling part is definitely what excites me. As having some of our sales reps go out there and talk and negotiate and figuring out how, whenever you're selling to somebody, you don't want to say, "All right, buy my product." No, you want to show them what the benefits are and things of that nature. Whenever we're going out to these different people, and they want to see, it's a sale is, a binding of a contract of trying to make a mutual relationship between the two, making sure that both people walk away happy. And that's ultimately what we do. We bring lots of benefits with Hydra-Guard. As far as our sales with our retailers, I look at our expansion with the sales is going into building. It's almost like building your personal credit and your personal your resume to go apply for a job. It's the same thing goes with the business. You go into retailers and local retailers and you're selling online to show them what exactly that you can do and how many units that you can push and what to expect. I think it's me personally, I like to take step by small goals and have our ultimate goal or milestones that we're trying to achieve. To me, it's the last thing that I would ever want as a company is, or what I'm trying to avoid, because we've had lots of product not only in the U.S. but internationally as well. Expanding too quickly is something that we certainly want to keep our eyes on, and making sure that we can fulfill every single order and not have delays in our processes whenever we're trying to when we're making promises and placing these orders for these retailers. Start off small with these 5. Make sure that we have our process in order and we have a good handle on that, and then we will evaluate the situation and that where we are in the company, and then we'll proceed for our expansion of the to larger retailers or outside of the region.
Yeah, I remember I met you at this event about 3 months ago. You had a small booth at the LBTC event, and people were just coming to you asking questions, and I can definitely tell. I mean, you can tell a story. You can tell a story. You can sell, and I think that's critical. That passion, that enthusiasm, that definitely sells. So big key, be a critical skill to have, huh?
Absolutely. Yeah, you got to be able to. People, they want to see your product, but they also, some people they want to. How did you do this? What was your drive? What drove you? What was that push you to this point? Like, there's a lot that goes into creating, and just being an entrepreneur, in general. Somebody's gonna come along and they're like, you'll lose friendships, over it. You'll be like, well, I thought you were my friend. Why couldn't you? You couldn't sit there and listen to my pitch, for 30 seconds, or you're tired of hearing it, and be like, well, it's a process, you see, throughout the entire journey. But you have to be passionate about your story, and I think that people that hear it, they can kind of they see it. They see what all went into this just by the way that I guess I communicate with them, and I absolutely love the product. The product kind of sells itself, and just hearing the story, I guess, is a bonus as well. So,
yeah. And talking about why, I know you 2-3 weeks from now, you're going to be one of the speakers at TED LSU, huh?
Yes,
okay.
I will.
And of course, I want to keep that to the people that are going to attend. And can you give us a little bit of a trailer or kind of like a showcase?
Yes, most definitely.
Is it why the whole?
The entire concept is on why, and I'll be talking more in the direction of why do people stop or let failure slow them down? A lot of people talk about success, but how do I get to that point? How do I get to success? I see you. Yeah, you're a successful person, and you're telling me to be, how to be successful. But what about I'm a fail? Okay, I know that there's going to be failure along the way, but how do you overcome that? And
wow. Man, we can talk about, the whole show about that. And that's something that I want to emphasize on how important it is to be able to keep going.
Yeah.
Like you say, you start and you fail on selling yourself the idea. You fail on selling a potential client, and you're gonna lose deals, and clients are gonna get mad at you, and people are gonna get mad at you or stop. That's kind of like a failure. You're gonna lose friends. You're gonna lose, some family members are gonna come across you and say, "What in the world?"
Right.
So, but what do you think? Of course, in the TED LSU, you're gonna have a limited time. What is it? Is 15 minutes? 10 minutes?
Yes. I'm not sure what the actual limit is. I know mine is going around 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's gonna be a great turnout. It's a great platform for innovators and people that want to create and artists, and it's a great platform to be on. I'm truly honored to be accepted on there and asked to go on there and share the ideas and my passion with other people out there. So expecting somewhere I think around 700 people.
Fantastic. Well, congrats. I'll definitely be there cheering. Hey! But before I jump into, I'm here with my mentor, Craig LeBlanc, and he runs a nonprofit that I've been working with now for a year. And I'm blessed to have that as a mentor. It changed my life. I didn't know what, I heard about the terminology mentor, and it's used a lot in the business environment. But the first thing that you think about a mentor, you think about a coach, somebody that is going to send you an invoice every month and give you some advice. But they don't even run a business.
Right.
And you're like, oh my gosh, come on. But with Craig and Legacy, it's been just this past 2 months, accelerated so many different areas of my life. And that's the last.
That's awesome.
M. So we got money, we got market, we talk about the management, we talk about the business model. The last M that we have here is the mentorship piece. So how do you feel, or what are your thoughts about mentorship? Do you have any people that you look after in business? You say about your parents, your family, but overall, anybody that you can remember, or any mentorship that help you out in your journey?
My mentors, I didn't have a direct mentor throughout my process. I think it's very important to have one. I didn't, and that's probably why it took me a little bit longer. I'm a little bit, different. I think that yes, absolutely. If you don't have a mentor, go out and find one. That's my advice. Okay, go out and find somebody that believes in you, that's gonna give you the time, and that can give great advice into what you're trying to do, and help you succeed in what you're trying in reaching your goals. I think that's huge. That's the reason why they're a mentor. They've done it.
Yeah.
So I think that is very big. It probably wouldn't have took me as long, had I had a mentor to do these things. So I went to Google. Google was my mentor at the time, and it was, I did everything that I possibly could, but there was a lot of people that I would consider my mentors along the way. Of course, you got the family, the friends.
See a lot of books here as well, huh?
Yeah, a lot of books. You go, Steve Jobs. Some of these big developers. So I'd really try to, look up to these guys and read a lot of books and figure out what does work and what doesn't work. So that's just a small, very, very tiny piece of the library. But I have, my book collection is very large.
100, 200?
It's a lot. I can't tell you how many, but it's a lot,
and they go from a variety, a lot of business, but you got other topics as well that you cover.
Yeah, I mean, inspiration. Sometimes, every morning, I wake up, I read something that's positive every single morning, and before I start my day, and then I go over something, how I'm going to start my day, okay, or what's going to happen today, and then I start read something very positive. Okay, and then I start my day.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and those are just the things I learned over the years of reading and talking with experts and different people around the Baton Rouge and Louisiana area, and so they have all had good things to say.
Yeah, and just to mention again for you guys that are listening that the reason we're doing this, and a lot of people are like, well, okay, but why you do that? I think it's exactly the same reason why you go read a book, or you go on Google to find inspiration and mentors. So I figured out, okay, I'm fine. And I've been in the past 5 years, 6 years, going through every YouTube video and every business event, and that inspires a lot. But it's nothing like, here, I met you 3 months ago. Now, I'm more inspired. I'm gonna get out of here like super inspired because I'm sitting from and this connection and this level of ideas, and it's called the mastermind, right? Your mind, my mind, Craig's mind. Now there's a whole other brain,
Right.
and so I get a lot of positive feedback, and I learn from your mistakes, and hopefully the people that are listening get inspired as well. That's the whole mission of this.
Well, we could just sit here, like you said, talk all day. I think, Joseph, it's so many young entrepreneurs that just identify with just your nature. It's almost like, finally, I'm not this freak out among so many other people that were called to be just great employees for other people. And they feel so out of place. And they hear your story of the 10-year-old pulling a lawnmower and trying to figure things out. And like, okay, I'm normal. That's why I love to highlight these kind of stories. And one thing I did want to talk about, because since you're kind of talking about the fear of failure on your TED Talk, is just, I don't know if y'all have heard the story of commitment with ham and eggs. Have you ever heard that before? No. The story of commitment, it's a story about commitment. It's between the pig and the chicken who want to make ham and eggs. Well, the chicken participated, but the pig was committed.
That's hilarious.
And that's what an entrepreneur has to be. He doesn't have the luxury of just participating. Wow. He's got to commit himself to this. And so if you could maybe speak to how some of the boats you had to burn so that you were all in. There was no plan B, or try to prepare guys for that level of commitment when you step onto the entrepreneurial train.
All right, so I came from a Fortune 500 company with a nice 401k, okay? I was doing very well. I knew this is what I wanted to work for myself, okay? How did I get there, okay? You always read YouTube, and you find that a lot of people, you kind of say the same thing, like, all right, so I got to be motivated and, things of that nature. And there's a reason why that's on there. These people are telling you the truth. You have to be, before you take the leap of faith, you have to have a plan. Okay. One, how are you going to do it? Me, I made sure that I wanted to make sure there's a market. So I had a plan. Okay. Before I dove into it, I inched my way into it, and then I bootstrapped. Okay. But before I did that, I said, this is what I want to do. How do I make it happen? And so at that time, I dedicated myself and said, I'm all in. I'm all in 110%. And I have been all in 130% or 220%. Let's double that to 110. So I've gone from being just my mindset. You have to be there with your mindset. You have to be all in. You have to want to. As cliche as it is, you want to change the world. You want to have to. If you have something, it has to be that other people are going to want to buy it or be involved with it. It has to help other people. You can't. It's just like, oh, this is going to make a lot of money. I'm going to be rich. It can't. I mean, if that's the reason why you're doing it, it's either it's going to work or it's not. Or somebody's your exit strategy is going to be just for somebody to quickly buy you out, and that's a little bit more riskier than just kind of going out there and not having a plan. So it's have a plan before you go into it. Be all in. Make sure that's part of it before you take the dive, and have that passion for what you're doing. Because if you have that passion for what you're doing, nobody along this way, because people will come and they will say, you cannot do this, or you're going to fail, or Joseph, let's go out to the bar on Friday night. No, I can't. I have to do a little bit more research. I have to figure this out. I have something on Monday, a goal I'm trying to reach. This has to be due on Monday, and I need to get this over to the manufacturer. Right. So I will stay up Friday night all the way to Saturday morning, and then I'll take a nap, and then I'll be back at it again. So that's where your mindset has to be. You have to be passionate about it. If you're passionate about it, nobody will be able to come in between you and your goal.
Yeah. And Joseph, I'm glad you spoke to that piece of it, because that commitment just does something different to your day to day. It's not just cliche, but it causes you to say no to your best friend or stay up later or give up your Saturday. And that's so many entrepreneurs don't understand that going in. I'm glad you kind of spoke to that for them because that's exactly what it takes.
Right.
Here's one thing I kind of wanted you to think about, and this kind of speaks to the mentorship part of what I do and how, what a mentor is. I truly believe there's a mentor in all of us, that we are at heart teachers. And one day, and even today, because you're fairly well along your journey. You haven't just started. You're right in the middle of the bar fight, and I've understood this is
right.
Okay. It's pretty intense, but you kind of don't know what you don't know, and until you experience something, it's hard to really speak about it. But imagine yourself 50 years from now, after being in this entrepreneurial journey, all the true wisdom that you've gained, not just knowledge, but applied knowledge over time, which I call wisdom. What kind of value at that point do you think you would be to yourself in your 20s if you could just sit the 20-year-old Joseph down after being 50 years into this entrepreneurial journey? What are some of the things you would say to Joseph?
Some of the things I would say, but why did I do that? Why did I do that? Yeah. So I think that would be the first main topic. I think I'll be stuck on that topic for quite some time. I've done, it's like you said, it's part of the process. You live and you learn, and how you react to the situations is going to determine your ultimate outcome. Okay. And my 50-year-old self would look at my 20-year-old self, and I would say, gosh, what were you thinking? What were you thinking, Joseph? And, and sure, there's going to be things that come up, and I'm going to say, well, I could have done this a little bit differently, but as an entrepreneur, throughout this, you don't know what's going to happen. Okay. You can plan, you can have everything that you're being what you're supposed to, doing everything that you're supposed to do. There's a thing that you don't have control, and it's called the market. You see, but how you react, you can kind of be ahead of the trends. And that's what we're trying to do. That's what we're trying to do, and we'll always continue to do. But as an entrepreneur, and whenever I'm 50 years old, there's things I'll also say this. I did that. I took the leap of faith, and I took the risk necessary to get me where I am today. So,
yeah, that's huge, just to be able to jump in. And some things, it's kind of like with love. You can't tell somebody about love. You just kind of have to jump into it. Ask that girl out, or get dumped, or break your heart. And in business, sometimes it just breaks your heart, and
yeah, it's not.
You just got to experience it.
And she doesn't have any feelings.
That's right. That's right. And she don't care. The market will break your heart, gentlemen. So you said stuff like, you came up with this, and then you were like, is there a market? This is a volume statement right there, because most guys they're so focused on the idea, they never thought, before I sink too much of my time in this, let me see if it's sellable. Where did you get that from?
I just, research. I figured out, what's the best way to the processes. I had a $200 Toshiba laptop at the time, and and I had internet, so it gave me access to Google. And then I figured out, and I did my research, and then I was like, wow, this is something good. This is good.
Yeah.
Before I go all in, I need to make sure, my passion's there, but on a realistic level, I need to make sure that there's a market. I think that every single entrepreneur should do that.
Right.
Whenever they're going into something, is make sure that there's a market for that product. And I did my research, put things together, and sent it out to the consumers. I buy my product and I use it. I know it's a good idea,
right,
a good product, but ultimately I need the consumer to want to buy this. I need their thoughts. How do you feel? What do you want this product to look like?
Yeah.
So, and then that's ultimately.
Do you study their response? Do you have any close relationship with a direct consumer so that you can kind of almost study them?
Oh yeah.
Okay. That's a game changer there. Most people don't study a relationship with their consumers or get constant feedback, but that's key.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, you got to know what they want, their behaviors, what they like, what they don't like. Do we need to make some changes? How does our technology need to make this better to make you be get you where you need to be on the field.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about balance. This is an extremely difficult topic for entrepreneurs to balance, relationships, family, faith, personal life, health, nutrition,
Right.
and the 800-pound gorilla in the room, your business, your idea.
Correct.
Kind of tell us your journey as far as that's concerned. How do you handle that?
It's very hard to balance as an entrepreneur, especially whenever things start really rolling. And so whenever I decided to go all in with my company, my schedule started going. It was crazy. I would go to talk with manufacturers, at night. I'm now here in the U.S. with my manufacturer, but in the beginning, people tell you that creating your product overseas is going to be a lot cheaper. And so I tried doing that, and I was manufacturing or talking with manufacturers. The only time that they're open is whenever everybody else over here is sleeping, right? So I would do this by night, and then I would wake up in the morning and go to class, and then I'd go to my day job. So I had a little bit of consistency there. But as far as where I am, how my balance, I think my key strategy is know when to shut it down. As an entrepreneur, you're gonna continue to think, and if you're stuck behind your desk and you're continuously just crunching numbers and trying to figure out how you're gonna grow, that's great. Walk outside, catch some fresh air, settle down, take a deep breath, go for a nice jog. That's what I like to do. Sometimes I do my best work outside whenever I'm in, just completely out of, dress clothes and just workout clothes. And that's where I get some of my best thoughts for my best designs that I have. Know when to shut it down. Allow yourself, your brain to reset itself. And so is what I do is that I wake up every morning, I get a workout in, I plan my day, and then I do something positive. So it's, an hour, 10 minutes of positive thinking, breakfast, start my day. And whenever 5 o'clock rolls around, every time I'm over here, I treat myself as an employee. I don't treat myself as the owner of the company and say, all right, well, I can go off and I can take off whenever I want and do whatever, do anything at any time that I want. I control the schedule. No, whenever I'm at work, I'm on the clock. And so if a friend calls me on the phone, I say, no, hey, listen, I'll call you whenever I get off of work. I'm at work right now. I can't talk. I can talk. I'm the owner, but I can't talk because I need to be working. This is my time to crunch it out, And so I do that while I'm at work, 9 to 5. And, there's many times that goes after hours. And I also, I have a fiance. So having that relationship, balancing that relationship, and having somebody that understands what you're going through and what you're trying to achieve, I think is key. To have that support system behind you that says, you know what, Joe, I understand what you're going through. This is going to be tough. I know what you're trying to do. I know your plan, and all of this is for a reason why you're doing this. Yeah. I know that you don't, my fiance, she knows I don't, who wants to be up for 18 hours of the day of crunch, pushing things out, but she knows that I have that support system of, hey, I know what you have to go through. I know your goals, and that's okay, So balance as an entrepreneur isn't going to be okay. So my advice to anybody is find a good support system if you don't currently have it, because that's going to be your motivation and mentor. Find a mentor. Everybody has a mentor within us. And if you are relationships and stuff like that, as far as an entrepreneur, it's very hard to have because you're all over the place. Like, all right, I like to call my team, the All-Stars, the All-Star team. We're the HG squad, so it's I look behind me and it's like having, Team USA behind us, right. And it's phenomenal. And every single person that's on our team, our partners, everybody is very encouraging. They believe in what's going on, and they know exactly what it's going to take and what our ultimate goal is.
What's your fiance's name?
Macy Robinson.
Macy?
Yeah, Macy.
Mason?
Macy. M-A-C-Y.
Okay,
Let's store Macy like Macy.
Right.
So she's one, find that support system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If Macy were sitting right there, what would she tell us about you?
this guy is crazy.
Run.
Run. Don't listen to anything he says.
She keeps you humble, huh?
Yeah, she keeps me humble. She would say he deserves it.
Yeah.
He works his butt off. And so, that's exactly what she would say.
What does, not just, well, especially her, but not just Macy, but your team, what do they bring to the table that you don't have?
They bring everything. And by everything, I mean the things that are necessary to continue. Entrepreneurship, whether you're a product developer, whether you're doing some type of service, whatever it is, you're going to have to work. And a lot of that time, it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you time. It's going to cost you money. It's going to cost you friendships, okay? And there's going to be times, very dark times that you go through, and you're looking around, and you're trying to search for somebody, and nobody is around, okay? And so the reason why I say that, and what my team shares, is that they're passionate. They're passionate about my idea. They believe in my capabilities, and they don't question the vision of what I'm trying to succeed throughout this company. Yeah. Having that is something that, you can't give that to yourself. You can't. It's something that's not that you have. Something that, hey, what do you think of this? Like, no, that's awesome. You're doing a great job. This is positive news. And last year, we won startup of the year at like 300 companies, and we did that. I have a great product and I put a lot of hard work in it, but that wouldn't have been able to have been achieved had it not been for my family and my friends and the people that are behind this company. Yeah. It's not, you can't achieve those things without those guys.
And that kind of maybe speaks to the importance of the entrepreneurs to surround themselves by just good people, because this is not a solo journey. No matter how good we are, every entrepreneur has his strengths and every entrepreneur has his weaknesses.
That's right.
What are some of your weaknesses that you lean on your team for?
Support. As an entrepreneur and inventor, somebody that creates, I have the constant question of, how can I make this better? This isn't good enough. Why am I stopping here? Why is it stopping here? It's almost like this is the laboratory. This is what I call it. This is the laboratory. This is where the ideas come in, and you're trying to, I'm trying to put my Frankenstein, trying to make them, come up and be alive, and that's what the company is, and my weakness is continuously just trying to make things better, which I wouldn't consider that a weakness. I would consider, they help me of identifying of, hey, Joseph, you're doing extremely well right now with the company. It's okay to be like this, but enjoy the moment. Enjoy the moment. And I have I have people around me. They're like, I look around, I see smiles on everybody's face, and they're happy, and they're clapping, they're cheering, and I'm looking around, and I'm the only one that's not, because I'm thinking I could have done better. Yeah. And that is ultimately. That's my biggest setback of, and I encourage every entrepreneur, don't be like that. Enjoy the moments, enjoy the high, when you're on those high rises, soak it in. Yeah. And I think that's an important part that a lot of people overlook whenever they're going throughout their journey. And I think that happens to me a lot.
I know right now you probably have today's needs. We never solve all of our problems. We just kind of trade our yesterday's problem for today's problems. Maybe speak about some of the issues or needs that you had recently and how you overcame them, and then maybe some that you have today that you're looking to solve.
Needs?
Yeah.
How I overcame them.
And maybe specific, what was a need you had last year that you worked your butt off and this came through?
Yeah, well, that has to go with like manufacturing. Whenever you're sourcing manufacturers, like I did overseas, everything went well, but as the product that I showed you, the original prototype, it wasn't a working prototype to my specifications or at all. And so whenever I needed these things, and I hope this is, the manufacturers, whenever I was dealing with manufacturers, the biggest thing that you have to do is make sure not only can they create the technology, but can they surpass your expectations. And so that is the biggest key. So a lot of entrepreneurs or developers is what they'll do is they'll find a a manufacturer that can develop that specific product. And they can, but can they, and do they have the personalities to say, hey, I can make this better, and them be behind you and say, okay, yeah, we'll try to create this type of technology. This doesn't exist. We'll try to do this. Are they willing to go that extra mile, and do they have the resources to be able to figure that out? The right resources with the people with the right passion.
Right.
Don't just find a manufacturer that would just produce it. Then you'll end up finding a different one.
So what would you say to all these maybe young guys looking for manufacturers, and where do you get your stuff manufactured at?
California.
California.
Mm-hmm.
So someone saying, all right, it's time to that part of the journey, I have to go find manufacturers. What does Joseph tell them?
Yeah, well, I would tell that entrepreneur, that product developer, to source manufacturers. Don't go immediately into the first manufacturer just to get into production. Don't do it. Source them very carefully. Make sure that they have the technology to create your product. Make sure that they have the drive and the team to surpass your expectations. Make sure that they're willing to listen to you. And of course, everything, cost comes involved with that. Manufacturing is not cheap. So, negotiating. Make sure that they're willing to negotiate. People that go into manufacturers, whenever you go into manufacturing, I know all of this because I've done this the hard way. I did this the very long way, and I'll guarantee a lot of manufacturers around the U.S., they know who I am because we've talked many conversations. Another piece of advice is to don't go with the very first manufacturer that you see. Source these out, price them, negotiate them. There's too many manufacturers in the United States here in our own backyard that are willing to negotiate and outprice other manufacturers that have just as good capabilities. So, yeah, that's what I would say. Technology, time, make sure that they're on board.
Yeah. Well, man, this has been awesome. I'm so glad that Gabriel's got us together, got you going to TED Talks, and got you highlighting as one of our local guys, because everybody thinks of these entrepreneurs. Or it's funny, I heard something Sam said at Y Combinator guy. He said, we have a monopoly on young entrepreneurs. So if you're trying to compete with us, it's just don't. And I'm like, those are fighting words. We can see about that. Appreciate all the work you're doing here, and thank you for being just part of this local community of entrepreneurs.
Absolutely. We have a great thing of entrepreneurs going here in our backyard in Baton Rouge, in Louisiana. And I certainly, it's an honor to be on y'all's show. Yeah.
Well, anything we can ever do to help, Legacy is dedicated. Well, my life is dedicated to just finding guys like you, and then just connecting you to whoever and whatever resources you need. I know that early in my journey, had I had somebody that 50 to 67-year-old that had already done it come to me and told me don't step on that landmine, I probably would not have stepped on that landmine. But if you don't know, you don't know. So there you go. Just get your leg blown off. So
right.
anything we can do to help, please let us know.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.